So, me and my sister stopped speaking after she had a child-free wedding, which forced me to not be able to come. Well, now I'm getting married and she's expecting to be invited. Well, I have other plans for her. Around the time my sister got married, I had a lot going on. I was divorcing, had 2 kids under 2, and me attending her wedding would require an overnight trip, which I was prepared to do, until I found out it was less than a week to go that it was child-free. I called her and said I couldn't make it. Well, she didn't take it well. We both said stuff that we shouldn't have said, and then we both apologized, but when we made up, she asked if I could come to the wedding now, and I said no, as the circumstances had not changed. At which point, the argument started up all over again. The day of the wedding, she sent me a series of messages about how she wanted me there, and she needed some time before we talk next. So I needed to wait for her to contact me. Well, that was 3 years ago. We still haven't spoken. I got engaged 2 months ago and we told my family a month back. One of my parents told my sister, who contacted me. And, well, I ignored her. Because in the last 3 years, I've moved on. I'm happy she had her wedding her way, but she knew it would cause issues for me, which is why she only told me last minute. She said some things about my kids and me that I just simply can't forgive. And if not for me getting engaged, she might have never reached out to me again, as it's been nearly 3 years. So clearly, ongoing presence in her life is not such a big deal to her. I've explained my feelings to my family, but they want me to meet with her, hear her out, invite her to the wedding, etc. I ask what happens if I don't do that, and their responses, well, have ranged from being mildly put out to not going in solidarity. I've asked where this response was when I couldn't go to her wedding, and they've said it's different because I had an invitation, while she doesn't. I don't want to get into a debate about me attending her wedding or her coming to mine. I just want some advice on how to address this whole issue with my family in regards to them choosing sides. As I would like them to be at my wedding, but I'm still not inviting my sister. What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. So this is a pretty intense situation. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think that they should have found a way to make up without having to last 3 years. I do have a complete update for this. We're going to hop in now. It came out about a month after the original post. Don't forget to click that subscribe button so you never miss any future updates, and here's your update to my sister and I stopped speaking after her child-free wedding. I wasn't planning on updating, and I'm sorry it's been so long, but I felt an update was warranted. I contacted the relatives who have been harassing me about inviting my sister to my wedding. I said, in short, that I don't want to talk about my sister anymore. We had issues way back when, and the resolution, if you can tell it that, was no contact. I intend to continue not speaking to her because of how she acted back then, and shared part of the truth, admitting that when we had that argument, she insulted my kids due to the circumstances of my split with her father. I included a couple of quotes from my argument with my sister that I felt comfortable sharing. Specifically, some about my children. A few people apologized after that, and I thought things were resolved until my sister put her little woe is me act back on, talking about how mean I was to her on her special day, and saying I was punishing her, and she somehow managed to turn the tide back around and into her favor. The messages then began trickling in, and in the last 3 weeks, all but 2 of my relatives have said they are not attending my wedding in solidarity with my sister. I haven't sent out invites yet, so to get this many negative RSVPs in advance probably belongs in the record books. Let me contact Guinness. My family made up the overwhelming majority of the guest list, which was pretty small to begin with. So now we only have less than 20 people left on said list, including children, and no one else invited. That's assuming the remaining guests even come. My fiancé and I are now considering eloping, which sucks because we didn't want to do that, but we no longer have enough guests to warrant an actual wedding. as most wedding services are designed for a couple hundred people, so the cost per guest has skyrocketed. And to just deliver that final blow, I spoke to my sister in person, and after once again insulting me and my children, she added that I should let her know the date for my wedding so she can plan a party, and possibly a vow renewal, for the same day. This was probably only said to upset me in the moment, but I wouldn't put it past her to actually do this. All in all, I'm glad I no longer speak to my sister. I just wish she'd left me life quietly and not kicking and screaming. So one of the commenters said this. Yep, I'm hearing time from a wedding on a tropical island, ski resort, or some other kind of experience you'd never be able to do, or have at any other time. And let the garbage take itself out. It may not be what you've always dreamed of, but you can make the memories of a lifetime. Guys, let me know what you thought of the story. The next story we're going to look at is titled, OP's cousin pulls a prank on his wife that almost ruins his marriage. My cousin, well, he grew up with our family, so he's more like my brother, due to him being an orphan. Used to be a prankster. Some of his pranks are a bit much, but with me, my mother, my father, my sister, and my older brother have always found the humor in his pranks. When he got older, he became more mature and the pranks pretty much just stopped. Well, he got married 2 years to an angel of a woman. She has heart of gold and pure soul. 6 months ago, I broke my foot and she became my nurse. I didn't ask for any help, but she came to my house the day the hospital discharged me and ordered me to eat and watch Netflix while she took care of me and the house. Bottom line, this girl is awesome. Okay, so on to the issue at hand. As I said in the beginning, my cousin used to be a prankster but stopped around 6 years ago. But for some reason, he decided to prank his wife. Let's call her Aaliyah. With the 24-hour ignoring your partner prank. Before I go on, Aaliyah had a terrible first marriage where her ex used silent treatment, basically controlled her. She told me that she used to cry and beg him to talk to her. She's a people pleaser and hates the idea of someone angry at her. She's in therapy, by the way, for that. My cousin knows all about it, but for some idiotic reason, he decided to prank her. According to my cousin, he ignored her for like 5 hours before she contacted me in tears, saying that my cousin won't talk to her and he left the house and he was not answering her phone, and that she doesn't know what she did. So I came to their house and called him. He answered and I asked him what the heck's going on. He asked what I meant. I explained to him what Aaliyah said and he laughed and said he was coming back. I knew instantly it was a prank. A very stupid one. He came home and was laughing, saying it was a prank, but his laughter died immediately when he saw the look on her face. She was beyond hurt, and the more he said, "I'm sorry, baby, it was a prank," the more she turned her face away from him in disgust. Well, after 20 minutes of him saying different variations of "I'm sorry," and her not saying a single word, she stood up, packed a bag, and left the house. Now, it's my cousin's turn to be a crying little mess, calling 30 times, messaging her God knows how many times, and her just ignoring his existence. The difference is, well, this is not a prank. I'm there for her, and I've tried not to say anything about my cousin's mental state so that I don't influence her decision. He's severely depressed, and I'm genuinely worried about him, but I really don't want them to get a divorce. What can I do? How can I fix this? How can I be there for my cousin? I made it clear to him that what he did was beyond effed up, and maybe it was our fault for enabling his careless behavior when he was a teenager, and how disappointed we are in him right now. But, as I said, he's more than a cousin to me, and I cannot just stop loving him. All of this happened a week ago. What can I do? Sometimes I feel like, duck it, it's not my problem, but I find myself checking on my cousin to make sure he eats and sleeps. Alright guys, Mr. Reddito here. Man, this one is an intense story. Let me know what you think about OP getting involved in this relationship. I have a complete update for this story. It came out just 2 days after the original post. Let's check it out. Hey guys. The moderators keep removing my post, but I thought you guys deserved an update since your responses were insightful and helpful, so thanks for that. I'll post it here. I have a semi-conclusion to this story, but my father was doing surgery, so I waited till everything was A-okay with him. It is, thank goodness. On to the update. I told my cousin that if he was going to visit my father, he needed to not make a scene and approach Aaliyah. Try to talk to her. She called me telling me that she was coming to visit my father, and I told her, hey, you don't need to come, but she insisted. He promised me he won't talk to her and that he'll wait in the cafe with my older brother. My father is the only one who doesn't know about the incident since we kept it to ourselves till the surgery, and the recovery was done. Aaliyah came and went without a hint of a problem. When Dad was resting, I took my cousin to a nearby cafe and pretty much interrogated him. What you guys said about him using this as a punishment stuck with me, especially when he did not do any pranks for 6 years. Even when he used to do the pranks, they were more like annoying physically, not psychologically. Like throwing water when you least expect it or pulling the chair out from under you, heck, even a whoopee cushion. So I asked him, you stopped 6 years ago and all of a sudden you come back and do this? And to her, of all people, knowing her past trauma? Before I go, I need to explain something. Some comments thought that Aaliyah was exaggerating with her reaction. He was ignoring her while he was at home. One-word answers and generally being very cold to her. And when she called me was when he left the house and did not answer the phone. The people who said that there's something behind his behavior, oh, you're right. He was upset that she was spending way more time at her father's house. Well, guys, her father's physically disabled and has a male nurse that takes care of him, but Aaliyah handles all her father's financial duties since her mother died. So I asked him, you knew about her situation before you guys got married, eh? She told you everything, bro. Hell, I told you everything. Since, I was the one introducing her to him. He said, I know, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being left one more time by someone that I love. I asked him, what do you mean by one more time? He lowered his head and said in a voice almost ashamed, I always felt that Mama, well, he calls my mother Mama, preferred you guys over me. Talking about me and my siblings. I saw red, and I'm not proud of this, but I started to be really angry, and I wanted to slap him. His bio mother, which is my aunt, was my mother's youngest sister. According to my father, I was like 5 at the time, my mother went into severe depression, and only thing that she could hold on to was my father, us and him. She raised him, and so did my father. I didn't know he was my bio brother, but my cousin at the age of 16, for God's sake. That's how tight we were, and for him to say that devastated me and filled me with rage. I didn't know I had. I was so close to slapping him when I saw he was crying really hard. He said, I know it sounds crazy, and I'm sorry, but this is how I felt all my life. I didn't say anything. I just stood up and said, you're going to therapy, and if you refuse, then you lose my number. He just nodded and asked, what about Aaliyah? You'll leave her alone, and whatever she decides, you'll go along with it. He nodded again while crying, and when we back to my father's room, and I left the hospital. I'm angry and heartbroken. I don't know what it's like to be an orphan, so I'll never pretend to understand him. But I swear to the Lord Almighty, we did everything so that he'll never felt left out. What shall I do now? As for Aaliyah, I told her that she'll always find a friend, and a sister in me, and my other sister no matter what she decides. So there it is. I'm more confused than before. Tell me, what should I do? Alright guys, so there's one little mini update. It's only a paragraph long, but it came out 2 weeks after the second post. Here it is. I really hope that the moderators don't remove this post. This will be my final update. My cousin, well, is in therapy. He and his wife decided to have a temporarily separation for 6 months. During these 6 months, he'll continue his individual therapy, and he and Aaliyah will have one day every week where they'll go for walks and talk openly and honestly about everything. Aaliyah suggested couples counseling as well, and my cousin agreed to it. So, that's it. No one knows what will happen after these 6 months, but at least everyone's trying to heal. Thank you so much for everyone that commented and gave me advice, and those wonderful people who messaged me privately and wished me and my family well. Thank you. Alright, so here's the verdict from the comment that a lot of people agreed with. The thing is, it's not a prank. Sure, he framed it that way, but then admitted that he did it all to punish her for spending too much time with her father. He just did the same crappy thing to her ex did when he was happy with her. I get maybe he sees the error of his ways and won't do it again, but this is especially cruel. Comment 2 says exactly. It was intended to get back at her, put her in her place, etc. The unintended joke was on him. She had backbone and saw it for what it was and left. He thought he would scare her into proving she loved him so much. Instead, he proved to her that he was selfish and cruel. Guys, I think those 2 comments basically summed it up pretty well, but let me know your opinion. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, just know it supports me when you subscribe, and also you won't miss any updates if you do. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. That's all the stories I have for you. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.